Hello everyone, and welcome to my bold and beautiful official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Thomas and Hope are wrapping up their sweet, passionate, candlelit love as we approach Los Angeles. Thomas is awestruck by Hope's incredible quality and the sense that they were made for each other. Trust absolutely never wants the inclination to end, since he causes her to feel invigorated. They then, at that point, canoodle some more while groggily clasping hands. They talk a smidgen more about what's going on, and Trust says areas of strength for something strong has been released inside her. She wonders if this is what Brooke meant when she talked about following her heart all these years ago. Trust's been fixating on Thomas for a very long time. She knows it's off base, however the time had come to yield. This is superior to her fantasies. They incline in to kiss and smile at one another. Thomas now has the opportunity to extol the incredibleness of this. Trust concedes there's a piece of her that is shouting, "What's happening with you?" Furthermore, thinks perhaps she's horrible her brain, and she's insane in light of the fact that she can't quit needing him, even at the expense of her ideal life. And that is sufficient to rekindle their relationship. Over at Spencer Distributions, Liam's messaging Wyatt. However, RG proposes that perhaps Liam ought to rather zero in on his marriage. But Liam doesn't want that at all. He needs the interruption of work. Of course, fine, that's what RG gets, yet feels like perhaps as opposed to returning to crash at Bill's place, Liam ought to go to be with his significant other, all things considered, before it's past the point of no return. After a brief jab at RJ, Liam abruptly hangs up the phone with Wyatt. Also, RJ thus pushes Liam again to zero in on his family, particularly since Wyatt's obviously fixed things. Liam's expressed a very sizable amount of about the risk Thomas introduced, and he was right. With the exception of the way that Thomas wasn't the one to demolish things, it was Trust. Liam then goes off, hollering that he needs his life back and his significant other back as she was months prior. He longs for the past few months to pass. Archie gives him a routine about how life and connections have the great and the terrible, the ups and the downs. However, Liam must concentrate on his love for Hope and his family and disregard the Thomas kiss. This won't happen again, I guarantee it. Archie demands that Liam can move beyond this. He needs to figure out how to pardon Trust one time only. Liam ponders his trip to Rome, how thrilled he was to surprise Hope, and how irrational it was to just wander around Rome in the hope of finding her. He thought it was fate that he went to the Colosseum to see them and fantasize about them, only to find Hope wooing Thomas and kissing him. She kissed the limited that she generally realized I couldn't stand more than anybody. Although RG is sorry, Liam still has his forgiveness. Liam's not a loser. He and Trust are correct. No, there is no possibility of forgiveness. At Forrester, Katie, Carter and Edge are discussing the way in which terrible an embarrassment Trust and Thomas' rashness in Rome could be. Now that she's back, Trust needs to focus on her marriage, Katie notes, before she and Edge discuss how vexed Brooke is about this. But Hope's aunt is certain that she has come to her senses now. Or not. Katie asks how Carter and Edge could never have seen anything in Rome, particularly given Thomas' history. Edge then, at that point, protects his child and says this doesn't have anything to do with falling away from the faith. Indeed, even Katie recognizes that Thomas has taken extraordinary steps and Trust is the person who did this, and apologized. The next move is up to Liam to hold the marriage together. In the show's last couple of seconds, Thomas tells Trust he gets it. Liam didn't want anything to do with the fact that she tried her hardest to keep her marriage going. He doesn't get how a man could be everything except thankful to accompany her. He doesn't want to ruin her life in any way. He wants to be the one to prioritize her. Perhaps she's accomplishing something wrong, Trust concedes, yet she doesn't feel embarrassed. What they shared was energetic and extraordinary. In any case, she ought to go before she causes problems. However, Thomas has an inquiry for her first. Is this something you and I can actually handle? She needs to decide what she will do next, but she wants to continue exploring with him. She would prefer to keep this between them until then. He concurs, and they make out some more. When The Bold and the Beautiful was looking for a new role for R.J. Forrester, it worked out a casting deal with Joshua Hoffman. The show made sense of that he remained away so lengthy to stay away from family dramatization. Yet since he's gotten back to Los Angeles, the triumphant entertainer has invested the greater part of his screen energy being the shoulder whereupon his family cries. Striking and the lovely simple, B&B has had numerous more youthful sets throughout the long term. The show appeared in 1987 with the characters of Katie, Donna, and Rocco. Most youthful Forrester girl Felicia got back home a couple of years after the fact. In 1994, the more youthful players were addressed by Wiley, Jessica, and Dylan. Rick, Amber, CJ, and Kimberly followed. It was high time that B&B brought in a new teen set, as the most recent group is now adults and has young children of their own. The engaging Hoffman appeared to be ready to lead this gathering. However, since his presentation the previous spring, he hasn't been given anybody close to his age with whom he can share scenes. B&B sounding exhausted, trauma center, bored. We've seen RJ champion his folks get together. All the more as of late, RJ has upheld trust as she is going through her own conjugal emergency. Our most recent B&B Performer of the Week was Annika Noel for her impressive performance. Presently, RJ has volunteered to offer his opinion to his brother by marriage Liam, asking him to rejoin with Trust since she cherishes him. So much for avoiding the family show. Striking and the wonderful straightforward. It would be useful assuming more youthful characters were acquainted with give RJ certain individuals his own age with whom he could invest energy. There are numerous Forrester children out there. B&B does not require us to list them, but any of them would be excellent additions to the canvas. We could easily see RJ meeting a young woman, and wouldn't it be ironic if she failed to impress RJ's mother, just as Rick hooked up with his babysitter Amber, which got tongues wagging and almost made Brooke a grandmother. B&B mirror, portrait picture Brooke shaking her head and thinking, "You must be laughing at me," as she looked up at Stephanie's portrait, which is currently hanging wherever it is. Imagine how wonderful it would be if B&B could get Susan Flannery to record Steph laughing at Brooke. Cleansers are about families, ages, and characters rehashing the way of behaving of those who've preceded. We can give RJ a little room to breathe for not having his very own greater amount life nowadays. He's presumably bustling reviving his memory of how Liam could be his brother by marriage once as well as 2 times in his day-to-day existence. Hopefully B&B welcomes on a few new youthful players with whom RJ can share scenes. All things considered, mid-year is typically when more youthful characters get more screen time, and we're close to partially through July. The Striking and the Lovely airs non-weekend days on CBS. For more about what's coming up in Los Angeles, look at every one of the most recent posts on B&B Spoilers, and for a top-to-bottom glance at the show's set of experiences. Thanks for watching if you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe my channel, and don't miss any update.